What's up, guys? Tom Fazio here. Welcome to the channel if you are new, and welcome back if you ain't. So today I'm going to be talking about the motivation problem. So, as some of you guys know, I'm doing a bit of a series here that is related, heavily related, but a little bit of a tangent from my normal focus, which is dealing with peak performance, mind-body stuff, and looking at some of the thought and biases and thought problems behind my new book, Law of the Die, which is a book about rolling dice for life options. It's a fictional book, but the thought behind it ain't. And it's pretty cool stuff. So this particular thought problem, is called the motivation problem. And it's very easy to summarize, which is that, well, if we don't actually feel motivation to do anything, how do we get started, right? As somebody that's been coaching, mosquitoes, forgive me. If somebody's been, as somebody that's been coaching for decades now, early on for martial arts and fitness, and for the last 5-8 years or so, my mind-body methodology, Weightlessness. Motivation is one of those problems that continues to creep up for most people. And it's a big problem. For people that find internal motivation and drive, a lot can happen, right? But as most of us know, we start something new, super exciting for 2 to 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden the wall hits, right? And this has a lot of reasons behind it. One of which being that the novelty begins to wear off, and as soon as things become more familiar and you're in the groove, then you actually wind up butting your head against the reality that this is not as easy as you thought it was. You thought the results would come quicker. You thought it wouldn't take as much work, so on and so forth. And motivation just plummets unless you're seeing truly extraordinary results. So that's on the one hand, right? A lot of people wind up in constant cycles of effort and then regression, effort and regression. Losing 30 pounds, gaining 15 back, right? It could be a million different things. And this is a problem by no means exclusive to fitness and mind-body development. Motivation is key across the board, I think. And then the other issue is, let's say that I know what's good for me. I think I know what's good for me. I want to do it. I don't know why I'm not doing it, right? Why can't I just change? And for this, I have a solution. You may not like it, but I'm going to run you through what I tell all of my clients and what I believe to be the biggest factor in change. So to understand this, let's backtrack a little bit. I am by no means a neurologist, but I know a little bit about how the brain works, and I think it helps to take a slight evolutionary look at the motivation problem, because there's a lot in the way that we're hardwired that makes a lot of sense, right? And if we were to go back, let's say 100,000 years, early Homo sapiens did not have anywhere near the amount of comfort that we have today. If they wanted food, they had to work for it. If they wanted any form of comfort, also had to work for it. If they wanted sex, had to work for it in some form, right? They couldn't get on Pornhub. They couldn't just go to the refrigerator or crack a can of Pringles, right? So anything that required, anything that released a little bit of that dopamine in the brain, which was, motivation hormone, it says, okay, this is a good thing, keep doing it. It's what makes you feel satiated as soon as you eat a chocolate cake or, fully relaxed and amazing after sex. It's essentially kind of positive reinforcement of an action. And so if you're living in cycles where you're consistently being rewarded for very simple actions that are not really winning you the big game, but maybe feel good in the short term, these are the kind of cycles that will keep you stuck forever. And it's a very difficult thing to breach, and it's impossible to breach it if you think that you're just going to talk yourself into a more talk yourself into a state of motivation. It doesn't work like that. So we have a couple things here. We have, on the one hand, a brain that is hardwired for simple pleasure, but all the stuff that we want to get out of life does not result from simple efforts. It results from a lot of the hard grind and a lot of the behind the scenes work that doesn't get noticed or rewarded in the short term, right? The big payoff comes after a lot of hard work in the shadows. So we have to find a way of conditioning ourselves and our minds to be willing to do that work without reward or without payoff or without recognition. And the other side of it is looking at the relationship between your perception and environmental signals or environmental reinforcement. Because a big assumption and a fallacy in this game of motivation is that, well, it's inside the head. It's all me. It's not all you. Your brain is hardwired for simple pleasures. You are doing the right thing when you eat a chocolate bar. That's what your brain wants, right? And for these people that say, well, I can get really in tune with what I need and you should just listen to your cravings and be more mindful, they don't understand this component of neurology well enough, right? If you put two things on a plate, you got a pile of sugar and then you've got like a whole grain next to it. You say, oh, just really listen to what your body wants, and you tell this to somebody that's, for example, obese, that has been spending years giving themselves the wrong reward signals. Their brain and their body will feel immediately gratified, by the sugar, immediately. That's what you're hardwired for. So this assumption that you're just going to start doing the right thing and if you really are sensitive and listen to what your body doesn't fucking know what you need. It doesn't know. Your body is hardwired for the simple release, period. And this is a really important, you have to understand this if you're going to go to the next step of what I'm going to talk about, which is environment design. Because motivation is not just in the head. Motivation is a feedback loop between your perceptions and assumptions of the world and what the world gives you in return, right? So if I were to talk about two clients in the past, not being specific, these are very big generalities. I've worked with plenty in both categories. But on the one hand, you find somebody that's diving in and says, I'm going to train 4 days a week and I'm going to hit the diet, hit the training and all that jazz, and it's going to be amazing. And you take somebody else who's like, well, I want to get results over the next, I want to lose about 20, 30 pounds, but I'm not in a rush. I just, as long as it happens next year. Right, so the first person that comes in with maybe a 6-week time horizon, full-on commitment and focus, is more often than not going to hit those results for a few reasons. Right? On the one hand, there are thresholds of change in the body, right? Metabolic thresholds, CNS, central nervous system thresholds, capacity thresholds in your cellular, kind of output in your sarcoplasm, like how much energy you're expending. So all these things, your body will change as it needs to, right? And if you're working at a point of homeostasis, which means not a lot of stress, pretty comfortable point, the body has no need to make changes, right? Your body is constantly seeking that state of balance. And if you are testing that sense of balance, pushing the threshold, it becomes extremely uncomfortable, but that is also the point of change. That's what we're built for, to find homeostasis, but at a different level of stress. So then you take the other person that's in no rush to do it. Maybe I give myself a year to hit my targets. If it happens, it happens. Well, for this person, it doesn't ever happen. It just doesn't happen. Because they're not applying enough stress in a short enough period of time for the body and the mind to take note, right? You're pretty much just gradually increasing this. And look, if you really commit to it and do it progressively, slowly over time, you will shift. You will shift. It's just that most people don't see results quick enough, which is getting back to my primary point. People on that train don't see the results quick enough to stay the course because they're like, oh, I've been doing it for 4 months. I'm not seeing any results. I'm just going to fuck off this weekend. One weekend won't kill me. One party won't kill me. And then that's the beginning of the end, right? So the first person, though, is focused, coming in. They're hitting the diet. The nutrition is on point. The training is on point. And then after 3 weeks, they start to notice, oh, my body's getting a little tighter. And after another 3 weeks, they're saying, oh, I've lost actually a lot of weight. My waistline has come in. I'm starting to get a good bit of definition. And they're getting environmental triggers and cues that are reinforcing their assumptions, their perceptions of relative success, right? Success in this domain. And this is what's really important in anything that we do, which now brings me to my primary point for everybody, is that the motivation that you think that you need to act is a lie. We are not built to be motivated first and then act. If you have the motivation, fantastic. Find a way to keep it, stay focused, do your thing. But the reason that you are not motivated is because you are not getting environmental triggers and cues that are reinforcing your actions. What you're doing and what your environment is telling you, totally different things. You believe you should be thinner, believe you should be having more success in business, believe you should have better relationships. Reality, sitting on the sofa. And it's not giving you the reward that you want. So, to kind of summarize a lot of this stuff, the key is, if you want to do anything, right? If you feel like you're stuck, or if you are after a different state of being, a higher level of quote unquote happiness, a higher sense of weightlessness in life, better results in, you name your domain, what's critical is not that you find motivation. What's critical is that you design an environment that rewards positive action. Okay, this is absolutely critical, because the motivation will go away. Anybody that's done anything for any length of time, I've got about 30 years in martial arts right now. I've had years where I have not felt motivation to train, right? And that's just a reality. And so if you go any length of time and you're relying on motivation to keep going, or motivation to reach your target, you're going to fail. But the best people, the most accomplished people in any domain will tell you that the motivation is not something that is always there. It's not something that even leads action. What leads action? Putting systems and structures in place in your environment that reward good action, right? Because as soon as you start to see a little positive reinforcement from the stuff that you're doing, you begin to feel motivated, right? It starts to hit those deeper centers of self-worth and self-confidence. As an example, there was a guy in my last tribe, and we had a conversation about this, that he often said, he doesn't feel a lot of motivation. He feels insecure some of the time, and great guy, and did an absolutely stellar job in the last program. We saw amazing results. But we had to have a heart-to-heart in the beginning, because he was going into it with the assumptions that, I don't feel a lot of confidence. I feel like I should feel confidence. I should get this, sooner. And we had to hash out that, look, it's not a reasonable expectation. You haven't done anything yet. You don't have any competence in this domain. You haven't accomplished anything yet. Once you do, you'll know. Once you can touch the ground with flat palms, that's your reward, right? It's not just about feeling motivated. It's not just about wanting to do it or even showing up to the workout. You need to find a way of having concrete and clear metrics, environmental cues that support you, right? So if in your fridge is, more candy bars than salad, you're gonna fail, right? If you're in an environment where most of your friends are drinking 4 nights of the week and you want to be losing weight, you're gonna fail. You need to find a way to have people in your environment, things in your environment that reinforce the kinds of behaviors that will lead to the end game, because that's what's going to make you feel motivated in the end. Accomplishing meaningful metrics and actually seeing real results, right? Don't worry about the motivation. Motivation does not come before action. Action comes first. That's a big cue. And if you can design your environment to support you, you will succeed. Yeah, let me know what you think on this one, guys. Maybe even you disagree. If you disagree, let me know in the comments, and let me know any thoughts there. So I got a couple more of these left, these thought problems. Hopefully they're hitting home. And until then, like, subscribe, be weightless.